Ojukwu fell to his knees. His fine house was breaking apart. His coins had turned to dust. His strong body now felt weak and empty. He looked at Ugo, now standing in the middle of the room, her eyes glowing bright, her face full of pain. "Ugo, please forgive me," he begged. "I was foolish. I forgot what you gave me." A long time ago, in a peaceful village called Eziama, there lived a man named Ojukwu. He was a fisherman, but not a lucky one. Every morning before the sun rose, Ojukwu would carry his net and walk to the big river. He would climb into his small wooden boat and paddle into the deep, quiet water. The river was wide, it was dark, and it was cold. All the other fishermen in the village caught many fish, big fish, fat fish, fish that danced in their baskets. But Ojukwu, his net always came up empty. Not even a baby fish. Day after day, nothing. Week after week, still nothing. People began to whisper. Maybe he is cursed. Maybe he did something bad. Even the river hates him. The children laughed behind his back. The market women shook their heads when he walked past. Even his old friends stopped talking to him. He was poor. So poor that he couldn't even buy gari to drink. His house was a broken hut made of old wood and leaking roof. At night, when it rained, Ojukwu would sit in a corner, cover himself with a mat, and pray for morning to come. But there was one thing that brought him peace. His flute. Yes, Ojukwu could play the flute better than anyone in Eziama. When he sat in his boat and played, it was like the river stopped to listen. The birds became quiet, the wind stood still, even the water seemed to dance with the music. He would close his eyes and play slow, sweet songs. Songs of sorrow, of hope, of dreams that had not yet come true. But what Ojukwu didn't know was that someone was listening. Deep under the water, behind the tall green weeds, behind the rocks where the light could not reach, a pair of shiny eyes were watching him. A soft heart was beating fast. It was Ugo, the youngest mermaid princess of the underwater kingdom. She had never heard music like this before. So gentle, so sad, so full of heart. Every time Ojukwu played, Ugo swam close, but never too close. She would hide behind a stone and watch him with wide, curious eyes. She didn't know his name. She didn't know his story. But his music touched something deep inside her. And though the king and queen of the sea had warned her, never trust a human. They are greedy. They are wicked. They bring only pain. Still, Ugo kept coming back. Because sometimes the heart wants what the heart wants. And far above the water, in his little boat, Ojukwu had no idea that his music had awakened a secret beneath the waves. One that would change his life forever. Far beneath the river in Eziama, where the sun's light could not shine, where the water turned dark and cold, there lived a mermaid named Ugo. She was not like the others. She was the youngest daughter of King Okoro, ruler of the underwater kingdom. Ugo had long, shiny black hair. Her tail sparkled like silver, and her eyes were like two small moons, always full of wonder. But Ugo was lonely. Her sisters played games, chased fish, and sang songs, but Ugo would sit quietly by herself, holding her hands to her chest, listening. listening for that sound, that sweet, sweet sound that made her heart beat fast. It was the flute, the human's flute. Every evening when the water was still and the sky above turned orange and purple, Ugo would swim to the surface but hide behind a rock. From there, she would listen to Ojuku's music floating down into the water like tiny bubbles. The sound made her chest feel warm. Sometimes she smiled. Sometimes she cried. She didn't know why. One day, her sister Neka saw her staring up again. Neka laughed and said, "Are you falling in love with a human? That's dangerous." Another sister, Chika, joined in. "You better stop before Papa finds out. You know what he said." But Ugo didn't answer. She just closed her eyes and listened harder. Later that night, in the golden palace beneath the waves, King Okoro called Ugo to his throne. His voice was deep like thunder. His crown was made of coral and shark teeth. He looked into her eyes and said, "Ugo, I smell the river wind in your hair. Have you been near the surface again?" Ugo looked down and nodded. "Have you seen a human?" the king asked. She was silent. His voice grew louder. "Ugo, humans are not like us. They destroy, they lie, they take and take. Never trust a human." Ugo's mother, Queen Mirenzo, placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "My heart is soft, my child, but soft hearts can break." Ugo said nothing. She just swam quietly to her seashell bed and lay down, staring up. But even as she closed her eyes, she could still hear the flute in her mind, soft and sweet, calling her name. And deep inside her chest, something was changing, something she couldn't stop. Every evening, as the sun began to sleep and the stars peeked from the sky, Ojuku sat alone in his small wooden boat. The river was calm, the air was cool, the world felt quiet, and then he played his flute. His fingers moved slowly, his eyes stayed closed. The song he played was not just music, it was a cry from deep inside his heart. Down below, hiding behind the tall rocks and soft river grass, Ugo the mermaid waited. She stayed very still. Only her eyes moved. Her long hair floated around her like black silk. And as Ojuku played, Ugo began to dance. Not a loud dance, not a wild one. A soft, graceful dance. She twirled in the water, her silver tail sparkled in the dim light. Her arms moved like seaweed in the tide. Her heart beat fast, but she smiled. She felt like she was flying. Every night she danced, and every night Ojukwu felt something strange. He would pause his flute and look around. "Who's there?" he would whisper. No one answered. Only the wind blew. Only the river moved, but his chest would feel heavy, like a pair of eyes were pressing into his back. Still, he kept playing. One evening, something strange happened. As Ojukwu played his soft tune, a loud splash broke the silence. A shiny golden fish jumped out of the water and landed right in his boat. It wriggled once, twice, then went still. Ojukwu stared at it, confused. This was no ordinary fish. It had glowing spots on its body, like stars. Its eyes blinked slowly, like it was staring back at him. He had never seen a fish like this in all his years. "What kind of fish are you?" he whispered. He picked it up gently, but the moment he touched it, the flute in his other hand made a loud, sharp sound on its own, as if the river had spoken. Ojuku's heart skipped. He looked out at the water. The moonlight danced on the surface, the waves shimmered, the wind was still, but he was sure something was out there. Something or someone. He placed the fish back in the water and watched it swim away fast, like it had a message to carry. That night, Ojuku couldn't sleep. He sat on his mat staring at the flute. Who was dancing behind the rocks? Why did the music feel alive? And why did the river suddenly feel like it was watching him? The moon was full, big and round like a giant eye in the sky. Its silver light touched the river, making it shine like glass. Ojuku sat quietly in his boat, flute in hand. He had not played yet. He was thinking, remembering the strange golden fish, and the feeling that someone was dancing behind the rocks. He looked around and spoke out loud. "Who are you? Why do you hide from me?" The river was silent. Then, splash! A soft splash. Ojuku turned quickly, and there, rising slowly from behind the rock, was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. She had long, wet black hair. Her skin glowed like morning dew. Her eyes sparkled like stars. And below her waist was a shiny silver tail. A mermaid! Ojuku's mouth dropped open. His heart beat fast, but strangely, he was not afraid. Ugo floated closer. Her voice was soft, like wind through trees. "Please, don't be scared," she said. "I've been listening to your music for a long time." Ojuku blinked. You're real?" Ugo nodded slowly. He stared at her in wonder. You're the one who dances?" "Yes," she said with a smile. "Your music touches my heart." That night, they spoke for hours. Ojuku told her about his bad luck, his pain, and his flute. Ugo told her about the underwater kingdom, her sisters, and her lonely heart. Every evening after that, they met again. They laughed, they talked. Ojuku played new songs just for her, and Ugo would dance in the water, her tail shining like diamonds. But deep beneath the water, someone was watching. A small, dark creature with sharp green eyes and tiny fins. His name was Nyaba, a jealous water spirit. He had always wanted Ugo to be his. When he saw her talking to a human, laughing, dancing, smiling, his heart turned black. He followed her secretly every night. Then one day, he swam deep into the sea palace and cried out before the throne, "Your daughter is breaking the law!" he shouted to King Okoro. "She speaks to a human every night. She even dances for him." The Sea King rose from his throne, his face filled with fire. "What?" Nyaba bowed and pointed up. "She is falling in love with the flute man!" The palace shook with anger. Back above the water, Ugo and Ojuku sat side by side, smiling at the stars. They didn't know that danger was swimming toward them, faster than a wave. The sky was dark and quiet. The stars blinked like sleepy eyes. Ugo sat on a rock near the riverbank, holding something small in her hand. It was a shining pearl, round, smooth, and glowing softly in the dark. She looked up at Ojukwu, who sat in his boat with a sad smile. "I don't want you to suffer anymore," Ugo said gently. "You have a good heart." Ojukwu looked at her with tired eyes. "But I am cursed," he said. "The river gives me nothing. My people laugh at me. I have nothing left, only my flute." Ugo smiled and reached out her hand. "Take this," she whispered. "It is not just a pearl. It is magic." "Magic?" Ojukwu asked. "Yes," she said. "As long as you keep it close to your heart, everything you touch will turn to blessing. Fish will find your net. Coins will fill your pockets. Food will come to your table." Ojukwu held the pearl in his hand. It was warm, like the sun. "But you must never be greedy," Ugo warned. "Use it well and only for good." Ojukwu nodded. "I promise." The next morning, everything changed. When he threw his net into the water, it came back full. Fish of all colors, shapes, and sizes danced in the basket. He sold them in the market, and people came running. He built a new roof for his house, bought new clothes, ate warm food for the first time in years. Day by day, his life grew better, then richer, then greater. More money, more customers, more attention. People in the village began to whisper, "Is that Ojukwu? Wasn't he the poor man with the bad luck? How did he become rich so fast?" Some said he found treasure. Some said he used charms. Others said he sold his soul to the river gods. Even the village chief called him one day. "Ojukwu, tell me the truth," he asked. "Where is this wealth coming from?" But Ojukwu only smiled and said, "Hard work, sir. I fish and I pray." At night, Ojukwu still went to the river, but now his mind was full of coins, houses, and power. He forgot the quiet pain he once carried. He didn't notice that Ugo sat quietly in the water, her smile slowly fading. Because when you give a gift from the heart, and the heart you gave it to begins to change, the river begins to stir. The village of Eziama had never seen anything like it. Ojukwu, the poor fisherman they once laughed at, was now the richest man in town. He no longer walked barefoot. He wore fine clothes made from smooth white fabric. His skin glowed. His pockets jingled with coins. And on top of the hill, he built a big house with red roof and wide windows. People came from far places to greet him. Some brought gifts. Some brought problems. Some brought lies. And Ojukwu welcomed them all. He laughed loudly, ate the fattest meat, drank palm wine from golden cups. He threw coins in the air just to watch people fight over them. And the women, the women. He chased them like fish in the water. Tall ones, short ones, loud ones, quiet ones. He gave them wrappers, necklaces, perfumes, and promises. But he never came to the river, not even once. Far away, in the place where the river meets the sky, Ugo waited. Every evening she rose from the water, sat on the smooth rock, and waited. She waited for the sound of the flute. She waited for his boat. She waited for his smile. But nothing came, not even a single ripple on the water. "Maybe he is sick," she told herself at first. "Maybe he's busy." But days turned to weeks, weeks turned to moons, and still he never came. Ugo sat quietly one night, her arms wrapped around her knees. The wind was cold, the moon hid behind the clouds, and for the first time, the mermaid princess began to cry. Her tears dropped into the river, one by one. But these were not normal tears. They were tears of pain, tears of betrayal, tears of love forgotten. And as they touched the water, the river began to change. The color turned from clear to pink, then to deep red. The fish swam away. The frogs stopped croaking. Even the birds refused to fly near. The river had felt her sorrow, and deep down, something began to awaken. Because when a mermaid's heart breaks, the river does not stay silent. That night, Ugo fell asleep on the river floor. She didn't dance. She didn't sing. She didn't smile. Her heart was heavy like a stone. The water around her was still red. Her tears had not stopped. She had waited too long for a man who had forgotten her. But as she slept, a strange wind blew across the water, soft, cold, quiet. And suddenly, everything around her began to glow. Her eyes opened slowly. She looked around. She was no longer under the river. She was standing in a bright white cave. The water was clear as glass. Shells floated in the air like stars. Then, a shadow appeared. Tall, beautiful, strong. It was her mother. Queen Mirinzo, ruler of the sea, with a crown made of pearl and sea flowers. Her voice echoed like music and thunder. "Ugo," she said, not smiling, "my daughter, my last pearl, what have you done?" Ugo looked down. Her tail glowed softly in the dreamlight. She couldn't speak. Her queen continued, "You broke the rule. You gave magic to a human. You gave your heart to him." "I was only trying to help him," Ugo whispered. "Help?" The queen's eyes narrowed. "He has turned his back on you. You sit in pain while he dances with other women. Is this what love is?" Ugo's eyes filled with tears. "I thought he would change. I thought he was different." The queen moved closer. "Love is not weakness, my child, but when it makes you forget your crown, your power, your family, it becomes dangerous." Ugo looked up. "I still love him." Her mother's voice turned cold. "If you bring more shame to our kingdom, we will have no choice but to banish you." "Banish me?" Ugo gasped. "Yes," the queen replied. "No visits, no dreams, no return. You will be cut off from the sea forever." Then the dream began to fade. The white cave turned to shadows. The soft music became the sound of waves. Ugo opened her eyes under the river. She sat still, heart beating fast. She looked up at the surface, then back down to the deep. She was trapped between two worlds. One filled with family and duty, the other filled with love that was dying. And now, she had to choose. The river was quiet again. No more red tears, no more flute music. Just silence. Then, one morning, as the sun rose gently over the hills of Eziama, something strange happened. a new woman walked into the village. She wore a long, flowing blue wrapper that shimmered like water. Her skin was smooth like fresh palm oil. Her steps were soft, like she was floating. Her face? So beautiful that even the birds stopped singing. So bright that even the sun peeked from the clouds just to see her. The men stared, the women whispered, and the children followed her with wide eyes. Nobody knew where she came from. She said her name was Adaize. But she was no ordinary woman. It was Ugo. The mermaid princess had left her tail behind and used her magic to become human. Her hair was now tied in braids, her tail was gone, but her heart still carried pain. She came for one reason, Ojukwu. And when he saw her, his mouth dropped open. Who are you?" he asked, stepping back. Adaize smiled gently. "Just a traveler," she said, "looking for peace." Ojukwu was lost in her beauty. He offered her food, drink, and a place to stay. She moved into the guest room in his big house, and just like before, he gave her gifts. Fine clothes, sweet fruits, gold bangles, everything she wanted. But he still didn't know that the woman in his house was the same mermaid he had forgotten. At night, Ugo would sit by the window looking at the moon. Her eyes would glow softly like silver stars. And one night, a small boy named Obinna saw her from outside. He was chasing a cricket near the house when he looked up, and there she was, sitting still, not blinking. Her eyes were glowing like a spirit. Obinna gasped. His heart jumped. He ran back home shouting, "Mama! Mama! I saw a ghost woman! Her eyes were shining like fire!" His mother slapped his head and told him to stop lying. But Obinna knew what he saw. And soon, more strange things would begin to happen. Because when a mermaid enters the land in disguise, something is always waiting to be revealed. The night was quiet. Too quiet. The moon hid behind dark clouds. The trees stood still. Even the crickets were silent. Inside his big house, Ojukwu was fast asleep. His head rested on soft pillows. His chest rose and fell with pride. But in the other room, Ugo, still in her human form, sat by the window. Her hands were on her knees. Her face was wet with tears. She looked at the stars. She remembered the river. She remembered the flute songs, the laughter, the promises. And she whispered softly, "Why are humans so heartless?" Her voice broke like glass. Why do they forget so easily? Why do they take love and turn it into pain? She covered her face and cried. Her shoulders shook. Her tears dropped on the floor, glowing like drops of silver light. From the other room, Ojuku heard the voice. His eyes opened slowly. His heart skipped. That voice. It was soft. It was familiar. He sat up in bed. His chest began to beat faster. His eyes stared into the dark. "No," he whispered. "It can't be." He stood and walked slowly to the window where she sat. She didn't turn. She just kept crying. Ojuku's legs felt weak. His mind raced. And then he remembered. The same voice from the river, the same soft question. Why are humans so heartless? His eyes widened. His breath caught in his throat. "Ugo," he said in a broken voice. Ugo turned slowly. Her eyes glowed. Her hair floated gently, even without wind. She didn't answer. Ojuku stepped back. A loud crack came from above. The roof shook. Crack! Another noise. The walls split. The ground trembled. What's happening? Ojukwu shouted. His golden cups fell to the floor. His coin bags burst open, but the coins inside had turned to sand. He ran to his chest. Empty. His clothes? Gone. Then he grabbed his body. His hands were shaking. His skin turned pale. His legs could barely stand. "Ugo, please," he cried. "What is happening to me?" But Ugo only stood and looked at him. Her tears had stopped. The time for answers was gone. The truth had come, and now the river was calling. Ojukwu fell to his knees. His fine house was breaking apart. His coins had turned to dust. His strong body now felt weak and empty. He looked at Ugo, now standing in the middle of the room, her eyes glowing bright, her face full of pain. "Ugo, please forgive me," he begged. "I was foolish. I forgot what you gave me. I forgot you." But Ugo shook her head. Her voice was soft, but strong. "You broke my heart, Ojukwu. You made me believe in love, then threw it away." A wind blew through the house, cold and sharp. The candles went out, the walls groaned like old trees. Then she raised her hand. The room filled with light, blue and silver, like waves crashing in the sky. "I blessed you once, but now I take everything back." She touched the ground with her foot. Suddenly, boom! A loud sound shook the earth. The sky turned dark. Clouds rolled fast above the village. Then the river roared. A great wave arose from the water, tall like a tree, wide like a house, and swept through part of Eziama. People screamed and ran. Houses shook. Farms drowned. The villagers didn't know what was happening. But the river did. It was angry. Back in the broken house, Ojukwu crawled outside, coughing and crying. He held his chest, his legs trembled, his eyes searched for Ugo. But she was walking away, her wrapper turning back into flowing water. Her feet didn't touch the ground. He tried to follow her. He fell. He cried, "Please, don't leave me." But she didn't stop. She walked straight into the river, and with a final glance, disappeared beneath the waves. The water went still. The sky became calm. The wind stopped. But Ojukwu was left alone, on the muddy riverbank, shaking, broken, empty. Some say he stayed there for days, calling her name. Others say he lost his mind, and still walks by the river barefoot and barefooted, looking for what he once had. And if you listen closely on some nights, when the moon is full, you may hear it too, the sound of a flute, and a soft voice singing under the water. But no one dares to go near, because the river remembers, and it does not forget.